be pushed in your face, you must start yelling, and loudly. 1. I claim you are stealing my rights. 2. I claim infringement on my rights to life, liberty, and happiness under the First Amendment. 3. I claim impingement. 4. I claim encroachment. 5. I claim usurpation of my legal constitutional rights. 6. If you violate any of my constitutional rights, I will sue and attach everything you own. Dealing with bad guys. Here are some more bureaucratic eliminators that have worked like raid on roaches for people attempting to protect themselves from government or any other official fraud over the past few decades. They are great to use in tight situations. 1. I want you to know that I fully accept your oath of office in this matter, and as a result, I expect you to uphold all my unalienable rights. 2. What gives you the authority to speak to me in this abusive manner? Or for that matter, what gives them the authority to speak to you at all? Remember that any manner in which they speak to you is abusive if they do not have the proper delegated authority, and thus you are being damaged with every word. 3. Where does your delegated authority come from to demand or ask these things of me? I would like to see that delegated authority immediately if we are to continue talking. Be careful here, since they may simply flash a badge and say, "Here is my authority." A badge means nothing. You have the right to see the delegated authority in writing before you speak to anyone demanding anything of you. 4. Are you going to uphold all of my unalienable rights during the course of my interactions with you? 5. All right. I claim that I am not resisting or evading my responsibilities in any way here. I accept your oath of office in this matter, as well as what you are saying to me. Kindly verify in writing and signed under the penalty of perjury that you have proper delegated authority to compel me to do everything you are asking me to do against my will, and I will comply. To this day in Gregorian calendar history, no one has ever received anything from any official signed under the penalty of perjury. Another maxim under the common law is equality under the law is paramount. If they are asking you to sign things under the penalty of perjury, you have the unalienable right as well to compel them to do the same. P.S. They will never do this as long as the sun keeps rising in the sky, because 99% of all officials you meet act outside the boundaries of their delegated authority, assuming they even have any authority or oath of office to uphold your rights and the Constitution. You need to understand who you truly are. You are a sovereign, free spiritual being that cannot be pushed around by any bureaucratic thug, but only if you claim that you are indeed sovereign and free. This is an old saying among freedom circles which applies to every day of your life. If you don't know your rights, then you don't have any. This is not whim, rather it is an actual maxim of legal precedent. All your life, you have been trained by the corporate media to respect authority, to cooperate, and to go along and get along without asking any questions. This is how the average person lives as a slave, an all-caps piece of trust property pledged to the money powers in this corporate matrix they call life. Life. Until you stand up and declare your freedom, you are indeed a slave. Unless you say otherwise, you are indeed their all-caps piece of property, void of any rights and granted certain privileges upon good behavior as their slave. You should never answer any questions of anyone who claims authority over you. Here is the way this game is played. He who asks the questions and continues to ask the questions wins. You should never communicate about anything over the telephone. Always instruct the person on the other end of the phone that you do not do business in this way. Instruct them to place everything in writing and send it to you. When you receive their mishmash, write the following across it, returning the items to them within 3 business days. Accepted for value as true. I'm returning this to you for settlement and closure of this matter for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. I accept your oath of office, and I do not wish to contract with you. If you think you are representing me, you are hereby fired. As a sovereign American, you can as well claim your rights under Marbury v. Madison as legal and true. The case has never been overturned after over 200 years standing strong. You claim your rights from the Constitution as you say they are, not as they say they are. A strategy for dealing with school DCF officials, including school lawyers that are blocking your child's access to school. 1. Get the exact names of the people blocking your child access to school. 2. Send a Public Records Act request to them on their authority to act as they do. See Forms section. 3. Charge them $1,000 if they do not answer request, and then $1,000 per day for your damages and inconvenience if your child is still not allowed to attend school. 4. Invoice them for the amount owed to you after 30 days. 5. Follow up on the invoices as would a debt collector. First Amendment of the Constitution talks about the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Doesn't the protection of your body, the maintenance of your body, and the bodies of your children as you see fit fall under this right? You are not hurting anyone by refusing medical vaccinations, since it cannot be proven that you or your children are a hazard to anyone if you do not receive medical vaccinations, and you are able to prove this fact with an endless array of scientific fact. Here is another bureaucratic eliminator. Quote, "Sir, or Madam, what is it you do not understand about your oath of office to uphold and protect the Constitution? You are aiding and rendering comfort to the enemy by breaking down the laws of our land and breaking your oath of office." Unquote. After all, according to Title 18 U.S.C., Section 2381, in the presence of two or more witnesses to the same overt act, or in an open court of law, if you fail to timely move to protect and defend the Constitution of these United States and honor your oath of office, you are subject to the charge of capital felony treason. As well, if any part of any bill or law are found to be unconstitutional, then the entire corpus of the bill is unconstitutional. Is there someone you assume has authority over you, using unconstitutional, colorful law as a weapon against your liberty? Is there some phony, pseudo, or colorful official stepping out of the confines of their oath of office to make your life a living hell? Why are you letting him or her ruin your life? Your right to due process is found equally under the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments. The 4th states the right of people to be secure in their homes. Specifically, quote, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, paper, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and the particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized." Unquote. From the 9th Amendment, quote, "The enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people." Unquote. That is to say, your common law rights cannot be violated in any way, shape, or form without probable cause of committing some crime against the common law, by some measurable loss to some other living human being. What this means is that Congress has no authority whatsoever to add on to the Constitution in such a way that would take any rights away previously guaranteed to anyone. If they do, according to Marbury versus Madison, those very add-ons, in whatever form they may be, are to be 1. Declared null and void, 2. Recognized as having no power to enforce, 3. Recognized as having no obligation to obey, 4. Reported to settle as if they never existed, 5. Known as unconstitutional from the date of enactment, 6. Recognized as no court being bound to uphold them. The 10th Amendment states, quote, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people." Unquote. This means the Constitution is a limited contract meant to limit government. Nor do the police have the power to take away rights previously guaranteed by the Constitution. Marshall versus Kansas City, Missouri, 355 Southwest 2nd, 877-883 states, quote, "Police power is subject to limitations of the federal and state constitutions, and especially to the requirement of due process." Unquote. Some other great facts to remember are Title 5 U.S.C. Section 556D, also 557, and Section 706. If you are denied due process of law in any way, all jurisdiction ceases automatically. From American Jurisprudence, Volumes 16, Constitutional Law, Section 97. This volume tells a judge how to interpret the Constitution. Quote, "That the Constitution should receive a liberal interpretation in favor of the citizen is especially true with respect to those provisions which were designed to safeguard the liberty and security of the citizen in regard to both person and property." Unquote. See Note 31, Briers v. United States 273 U.S. 28. Quote, "And a constitutional provision intended to confer a benefit should be liberally construed in favor of the clearly intended and expressly designated beneficiary, you. Similarly, a provision intended to afford a remedy to those who have just claimed should receive a beneficial construction for the purpose of extending the remedy to all who might fairly come within the meaning of the terms." Unquote. Forced vaccinations fall under the category of unreasonable seizure of your body, or the bodies of your children. They are the epitome of seizure of your being. You should always ask for specific performance from any court in favor of you, the beneficiary of the contract, which is the United States Constitution. Contract law states that any contract shall be enforced most favorable in favor of the non-preparer, you. You have a right to claim specific performance of the Constitution. Politicians think they also have the right to do whatever they want during a declared emergency. Also a falsehood, according to American jurisprudence. Section 98, Effect of Public Emergency. Quote, while an emergency cannot create power, and no emergency justifies the violation of any of the provisions of the United States Constitution or state constitutions. Unquote. On the other hand, a contention that a grave emergency, such as a depression, should permit construction of the constitutional provisions, which would meet the emergency, was rejected in one case, the court holding that neither the legislature nor any executive or judicial officer may disregard the provisions of the Constitution in cases of an emergency where the plain and unequivocal terms of the Constitution present no question of construction as to departures in emergencies. Unquote. How clear can you get? Even in declared emergencies, the spin doctor politicians cannot disregard your constitutional rights. Nowhere in the Constitution does it state that your rights can be suspended due to any emergency. More goodies from American jurisprudence. Section 117. The courts are not at liberty to search for meanings beyond the instrument of the Constitution. The courts must apply the terms of the Constitution as written. Section 155. The courts are not at liberty to overlook or disregard the constitutional demands. If the Constitution prescribes one rule and the statute another, and a different rule, it is the duty of the courts to declare the Constitution and not the statute governs in cases before them for judgment. Section 255, 256. An unconstitutional law is null and wholly void. An unconstitutional law is null and void from the date of enactment. No repeal of these unconstitutional laws are necessary. No one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law.